If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. Well, last night it got down to 15 degrees. It's been the coldest night that I think we've had since we've been in this camper. Now, a lot of you know we are in Missouri because Carolyn's daughter is sick, and we're going to stay with her. Carolyn is currently with her right now, so I'm out here by myself. Now, last year we had to deal with a temperature down to 12 degrees one night, but we had the propane heater and an electric heater to keep us warm. Here we're only using propane heat. We're using our Coleman stove. And last night it got cold enough for the first time that I had to turn the heat up, on the flame up on the Coleman stove. Normally it just is a little flickering, but I actually had to get it up a little bit. Carolyn and I have a blanket each. And so what we do is we fold those blankets in half and we have 2 layers. Well, now I have Carolyn's blanket and mine, and I got 4 layers. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with all kinds of different heaters, and, I just read a blog on all kinds of different heaters, and there's diesel heaters, and kerosene heaters, and propane heaters, electric heaters, diesel heaters, wood stoves, all kinds. The only thing I've ever used was the Mr. Heater Portable Buddy, the Coleman stove, and then I also have an electric heater here. I had that old electric heater in the pop-up, and I have this electric heater. Now, let's talk about this electric heater right here. I don't use that at all when we're out here boondocking. I don't run it on the generator. And here's the thing, a lot of folks don't understand. Running the generator costs more money than running propane. With the efficient generator, the quiet generator, they're called inverter generators, they run at a very low RPM. And it gives you, I think, 250 watts, something like that. Well, if you put a power source to it, the RPMs come up on it, meaning you use more gas. Well, currently, with just charging the battery 6 hours a day, I use 1 gallon of gas every 9 hours. But if I were to run a heater on that, I would probably run the generator 1 gallon of gas every 3 hours. So it would cost me $2 for every 3 hours to run an electric heater. Well, with the propane stove, 1 gallon of propane lasts me 2 days. So it's a huge difference. 9 hours or 6 hours for a gallon of gas and 2 days for propane. The reason I have this electric heater is when I am driving down the road, I don't want to run the propane. I mean, it's a safety risk to me. I don't want to run it. So I have this electric heater that I can plug into the inverter, and the inverter will run the heater. It's 250 watts. I bought it at Walmart. Very cheap. It was $10. The truck then, in turn, charges the battery that runs the inverter, that runs the heater. So the truck is actually providing the energy to run that heater while I'm driving down the road. The reason I want to have that is while I'm driving down the road, I don't want all my liquids to freeze. Condensation. Propane produces 1.5 pounds of water for every pound of gas you burn. But as I already stated, I don't burn a lot of propane. So if I'm using 1 pound of propane, it would probably take me a good portion of the day to burn that much. So it's not like I'm just dumping 1.5 pounds of propane right onto the walls and the windows. Now, granted, it does make the environment in here a little bit more humid. And anybody that has ran an electric heater or a wood stove in the winter knows that kind of heating dries out the atmosphere. And so people buy things called humidifiers to humidify to help you, because water is easier to warm up than the air temperature. So you want to humidify your house. Well, with propane, you're humidifying your house. And so it actually, I believe, helps you stay warmer with lower heat. But the condensation, we've talked about this. Earlier, I did not have all my walls insulated. And so when I woke up in the morning and I turned on the heater, it would be like a rainforest in here. Those walls would just instantly start dripping water. That is the condensation that I was trying to avoid with the insulation. The windows are always wet, for example, in this camper. There's cold and hot hitting each other all day long, and so the water in the camper is producing condensation. So they're dripping, and we got to put towels around it and different things. And you keep your windows open. If you can keep your windows open, that helps. If I turn the heater off and I wake up in the morning and the windows are shut, this happens all the time. The windows are shut, no heat source is on, I wake up and there's water on the windows. Your body produces, when you breathe, water. Finally, I want to talk to you about carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, I've learned quite a bit about. I'm not an expert, but I just know, first of all, carbon monoxide is very dangerous. It's a poisonous gas. You can't smell it, you can't see it. It's just, and it will get you. And the best way to avoid it is get a carbon monoxide detector. And ours has went off in the middle of the night. It went off, which made me realize I need 2 carbon monoxide detectors. So I have one here, and one over here. I got them on opposite ends, right underneath the fire extinguisher, which you got to have a fire extinguisher. I got one back here, and I got one in the cab of the truck. Carbon monoxide is produced by propane when oxygen levels start to drop. So the less oxygen you have in the cab of your truck, the higher the carbon monoxide level is. And it goes back and forth like this. A visual indication is if you turn on your propane heater and you see a blue flame, it means it's getting good oxygen. But if you start seeing orange flames, you're going to know that it's getting less oxygen. So when you go up in the mountains, and I read today, if you go up 7,000 feet, you'll start to see this discoloration in your propane Coleman stove. When Carolyn and I are in here without any ventilation, when the windows aren't open, we've noticed that the carbon monoxide detector goes off more frequently than when I'm here by myself. Here by myself, it has not went off once. So when I read this today, I thought, wow, that's interesting. Carolyn and I are obviously using more oxygen in here than when I'm here by myself. Other than a fire, it's probably the biggest safety hazard we have. So, thanks for watching. Like if you like the video, and happy travels.